Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Slip it, cut the check, talk to doctor now and share.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor. Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Blood clots can happen to anyone. Up to 900,000 people in the United States are affected by blood clots each year, and 100,000 die from them. Blood clots don't discriminate. You or a loved one could be at risk right now. The good news is blood clots can be prevented. Knowing the risks and symptoms are key. On average, 1 person in the United States dies of a blood clot every 6 minutes. Don't let that be you or someone you know. Learn more at stoptheclot.org/spread-the-word.
The fun way to drive home is with Sedano and Cap.
Afternoons on 710. You know, Doja Coin went down quickly. But I will say this.
You call it Doja Coin, like Doja Cat?
Yeah, is that what it is?
It's Doja Coin.
Not Doja Coin? Like the cat? The coin and the cat are not related?
No, it's not Doja Cat like the singer. It's Doja.
Like Doja Coin. It's Sedano and Cap, the LA Afternoon Takeover.
Monday at 4 p.m.
on 710 ESPN.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Help us fight youth homelessness. Go to covenanthouse.org.
KSPN AM 710 Los Angeles. KRDC AM 1110 Pasadena, Los Angeles.
710 ESPN.
A good karma
brand. San Diego State and UConn stepping up on the big stage, the national championship. Everything coming up UConn right now. The Aztecs climbing right back in. The response that UConn's had here has been impressive. Every dog has its day, and this day belongs to the Huskies. UConn has its 5th national championship. This is Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. Chris Canty in for Key. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Good morning, guys.
What's happening? What's going on, y'all?
We got Coach Seth Greenberg, ESPN college basketball analyst, on with us right at this very moment. Morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. What's happening?
What's happening is that game last night. What was your biggest takeaway from the national championship?
My biggest takeaway is that this was as complete a team as we've seen in a long time, that everyone embraces their roles, and every time they were punched in the face and pushed back, they had an answer. They had every answer to every question. It was almost like they had cliff notes. This is a team that's well put together. Everyone embraced roles, and they had great leadership from Danny Hurley.
Seth, when we were on set the other day, we were having a conversation about obviously UConn rejoining the Big East, and you and I have always had conversations in the past about geographical footprint and how we thought that was misplaced with them being in the AAC. What do you think overall now about the Big East with the TV contract coming up next year, but with Villanova that's just won it? Now you have UConn winning it, Rick Pitino over at St. John's, and Ed Cooley now going to Georgetown. What do you think about the Big East overall as a conference now?
It's an absolute rock fight every night. Look, the great thing about the Big East is a commonality within the league. And you have teams that have rich basketball traditions. They hang their hat on basketball. It's the most important sport on their campus. And you can't say that because people said that basketball is the most important sport on Kentucky's campus, and it created a firestorm. But that's just the way it is. Basketball is the most important sport on these Big East campuses. They have great venues, great ownership, great passion. look, the contract is up. The problem is, I would say the only problem is that, everything starts with football. Well, no, in the Big East, everything starts with basketball. And I actually think the Big East and the ACC should merge so that we could actually get the ACC back to having a commitment to basketball. Imagine you added the Big East schools to the ACC, did 2 divisions. That would be a monster. But the league's going to be a monster. Rick Pitino's going to get players, and he's going to win. Ed Cooley's going to get players, and he's going to win. Sean Miller's going to get players, and he's going to win. Shaheen Holloway's team is going to be hard to play against. You go right down that league, and you know what? If you don't play well, you're not winning in that league. That's just the way it is. So the Big East was the vehicle to get back to where they were for UConn, and Dan Hurley was the guy to drive the bus. His drive, his passion, his energy, his ability to recruit the geographic footprint that makes UConn such a great job. And the dude can flat coach. I mean, he can flat it. He put on a clinic during this NCAA tournament.
Seth, staying with the recruiting aspect of things, we all know recruiting is the lifeblood of any college basketball program, and every coach would like to have the better players. But no one-and-done guys on the court last night for either team. And I just got to ask, does the continuity in having guys together for multiple years lend itself to being able to have deep playoff runs, deep tournament runs, and sustain success with these programs in the landscape of college basketball today?
Yeah, Chris, I think it does. I mean, it's not just this past team. Think about Villanova's team, veteran guys. Think about North Carolina's championship team, veteran guys. Think about Baylor's team, veteran guys. Now, they had pros, but veteran guys. No McDonald's All-Americans in this tournament. Now, here's the deal. To win in the NCAA tournament, you got to have both feet in. You have to have both feet in because the season's long. I mean, think about it. You lost 6 of 8 games. If you had a bunch of dudes that were one and done and they just lost 6 or 8 games and things were going a little south, and they knew they were going to be leaving in the next 6 weeks, how committed would they be? How would they, let me ask you this. How would their inner circle, Jay Will, you know this now, you know the static around these young kids. How would their inner circle be handling that? Their inner circle would be saying, hey, don't worry about it. Let's get with our individual workout guy. We're going to get up shots. And then look what Nick Smith did. He literally left his team for a month while he rehabbed at Arkansas. So I think it's a big factor. Continuity is important. Trust, having both feet on the ground, embracing a role. Look at this UConn team. Everyone played to their strengths. Everyone showed people what they can do, not what they can't do. And I use Andre Jackson as the perfect example. Andre Jackson, at that point when they were struggling a little bit, was shooting threes. That's not who he is. He's the most impactful player in the tournament without even having to take a shot. He rebounds, he initiates a fast break. He's a great passer. He's a multi-position defender. He's flying all over the court. The Gonzaga game, at the end of the first half, Gonzaga was making a run. They could have committed a turnover. It was like late possession. It was about to be a turnover for a run out. He intercepted a bad pass, threw the next pass, and they're knocking down the 3. So having guys that buy into roles and play to win, it sounds like such a silly thought. Wow, they play to win. Yeah, because winning is the most important thing. If we win, everyone eats, and that's exactly what this Connecticut program's about. They're not going anywhere. They're recruiting at a high level. He's going to coach them every day. He is unrelenting, Danny Hurley, in terms of the standard that he sets for himself, for the program, for the players, and everyone around him. This will just fuel the fire. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's how the Hurley family is wired.
Coach Seth Greenberg with us right now on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Chris Canty in for Key. Coach, Jay gave not just his list of Blue Bloods, but his Mount Rushmore of the Blue Bloods. On it, Kansas, Duke, UNC, and UConn. What do you think of his list? Do you have your own?
Yeah, look, I look back to the history of the game. Probably Kentucky because of number of championships. But for this generation, for a young person, and not even a young person, for a person, say, from the start of the Big East on, or from 1999 on, Look, they got more championships than Kansas. Let's think about that. They have, between 1999 and today, they have 5 national championships. In that same period, North Carolina has 3 national championships. Duke has 3 national championships. Kentucky has 1 national championship. Kansas has 2 national championships in that time period. Connecticut has 5. Now, kind of think about it. Let that marinate for a while. Connecticut, it is amazing what Jim Calhoun was able to create. Kevin Ollie won a championship. He inherited the team, senior Latin team, and did a great job with him. Shabazz made a tremendous job with that team. But what Danny's about to do, and not put pressure on him, I'm not saying that they're going to win back to back or anything like that. They will always be in the conversation because he's going to be able to recruit. He's going to be able to develop players. He's going to be able to hold them to a standard. They will always be prepared, and they're going to play their tails off. There is no if when it comes to that. And look, he won a national championship this year without a point guard. Now, Tristan Newton was great in the NCAA tournament. You watched the first 4 minutes of that game?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got pushed back almost a half court. Yeah. But he stayed with them. He settled in. Caravan rebounded the ball. Hey, Donovan Clayton is going to be, I don't want to compare it to Zach Edey. Like, the guy can knock down threes. Wait till people see him slipping and knocking down threes, then posting up. Like, trying to score over that dude is almost impossible. So they're not going anywhere. They're going to be in the conversation every year. Now, can they continue to win it? I think they'll be in that conversation because of their approach. That's a 12-month program.
Yeah. You may mention Jim Calhoun. He's going to actually joining us today at 9:05 Eastern on KJM. Seth, I did want to ask you about a team that I omitted, and I used the Elon Musk. They didn't pay their $8 for their blue check mark from my Mount Rushmore in UCLA. And I know history tells me about what they did, in the 60s and the 70s, obviously with Bill Walton and some of the dominance that they have. Do you still consider them a blue blood in today's game?
Yeah, I do, because look, they just a couple of years ago they were in the Final Four. Obviously, got beat by a half-court shot. They were what was it this year? They got to the Sweet 16. Think about what Nick did with this team this year. They lose Bona in the one game, and then they lost Jalen Clark earlier. Yeah, but UCLA is going to be, and mark my words now, UCLA's DNA and the manner in which they're doing things, and the resources that they have, and the job that Nick does in terms of evaluating, recruiting, and coaching, UCLA is going to be right where Connecticut is in the next 3 years. They're going to win national championship in the next 3 years. Okay. So I do, Jay, well, because you can't take away those 10 national championships. You just can't. You can't take away those 4 letters, the most powerful 4 letters in the Western United States when it comes to basketball. You can't take away just all the great players. The problem they have, this sounds silly. They only hang national championship banners. They don't even hang Final Four banners in that place. That's how crazy that place is.
And Seth, it's going to be weird when they're in the Big Ten. It's going to be so awkward for me. I'm not going to know how to look at it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure that's a good vehicle or not. The one thing they're going to learn being in that league, and that's a great point, Jay Will, is that the travel is going to be exhausting.
Exactly.
And every single trip they take, they're going at least 2 time zones over. Imagine those return trips. They're going to have to play back-to-backs, which they're used to playing, obviously, in the Pac. The Pac-12 has played a lot of back-to-backs. But, yeah, at the Big Ten, look, this is the world we live in. And the world we live in, and I'll say it now, in 2, 3, at the most 4 years, we're going to have 4 conferences. Yeah. In the most 4 years, we're going to have 4 conferences, and then the rest of the NCAA field will be like the play-in games, so the first 4. It's not going to be the first 4 anymore. It's going to be probably the first 12, and the winners of those games will then get in the field which will basically open up more slots for the 4 conferences that are going to be leveraging television money to continue to live in the economy of college athletics. Look, there's only so many revenue streams. We're going to have 4 super conferences that will leverage television money so that these players are going to be under contract. They're going to have 2-year contracts, which will basically be a solution to the transfer portal. We'll have 2-year contracts, so therefore there'll be more continuity, and we'll have 2-year contracts so we can compete with whether it's Overtime Elite or the G League Ignite. That's my belief.
Wow. Seth Greenberg, ladies and gentlemen, ESPN college basketball analyst, of course. Thanks, Coach, for coming on this morning.
All right, Notorious B.E.R.G.
My pleasure. And B.E.R.G., let's go, Jay. We'll give you 3 strokes aside, and we'll be ready to go.
Get the pops ready, Seth. Get the pops ready.
Coach did mention Jim Calhoun, Jay, as you mentioned, and Jim Calhoun will be here with us in the next couple hours, 9:05 a.m. Eastern. Meantime, the First Lady of the United States of America wants LSU to visit the White House. Of course, they won the national title, but also wants Iowa. What? But does the what? What is happening? What? We'll get into that next. Okay, Jam.
Hey, it's Greeny, and congratulations, UConn, champions of the basketball world again. What a run through this NCAA tournament. Where does it rank? Among the greatest we've ever seen. We'll talk about it. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
The fun way to drive home is with Sedano and Cap.
Afternoons on 710.
Sometimes this show gets a little real. Well, raw. And sometimes we and I fight, we laugh about it later. But sometimes one of us gets annoyed with each other. It's rarely you and me, but sometimes me and one of the girls, or you and one of the girls, and that happens. But we're still one dysfunctional, happy family.
It's Sedano and Cap, the LA Afternoon Takeover.
Monday at 4 p.m.
on 710 ESPN.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-216-3366. 800-216-3366. That's 800-216-3366.
I spent a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in 09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Mama, what does the chicken say?
Chicken. Oh, okay.
Wolf?
Oh, a wolf.
Ooh! What about the tiny dog? Cat. Owl. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Dolphin? What does the turkey say? Whale.
Yeah, whale sound.
Do the giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Okay. Giraffe. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
LA's mega sports station.
710 ESPN.
care to be All-American. I don't care to be a Defensive Player of the Year, The biggest goal is to be a national champion.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
The narrative, I don't fit in the box that y'all want me to be in. I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. Y'all told me that all year. But when other people do it, y'all don't say nothing. So this was for the girls that look like me. It's unapologetically you. And that's what I did it for tonight.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, ESPN Radio. Yates, it takes two. Both teams.
Well done, Yates. Well done. Well done.
Everything comes in twos.
Well done.
First Lady of the United States of America, Jill Biden, wants LSU to come to the White House. Of course, that's what happens. The national champion visits the White House and visits with the president and First Lady. But she also wants Iowa. What? The losers. What? To my memory, I don't remember the losers ever showing up at the White House. Biden watched LSU's 102-85 win over Iowa from the stands at American Airlines Center in Dallas on Sunday night. Speaking Monday at the Colorado State Capitol in Denver, she praised Iowa's sportsmanship and congratulated both teams on their performance. Here's the quote. "I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come," she said. "But, I'm going to tell Joe I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game." Now, listen, unless you're very naive, you understand that the president or first lady does not make any public statement without the political implications in mind.
No
This
doubt.
is politically motivated. Obviously. Why, Chris?
Well, I mean,
what jumps to mind?
Well, the Iowa caucuses.
The
right?
Iowa caucuses.
Yeah, that's usually where presidential campaigns kick off. Now, I know the Democratic National Committee is moving it, and their first caucus is down in South Carolina in February of 2024.
Right.
So to make the people of Iowa feel seen, this is an easy win for Jill Biden, inviting America's darling and Caitlin Clark and her squad to the White House because they played so well in the NCAA tournament in the national championship game.
And yet, Jay, it doesn't. Something feels wrong, doesn't it?
It does and it doesn't. It does because, look, only the winners go to the White House after winning a champ. And a part of me yesterday was wondering if Caitlin Clark would just, gratefully pass on the opportunity, graciously, and be like, look, we appreciate it, but thank you. But I also get torn with it because, guys, like what we saw the other night was so unprecedented. It was so different. And 9.9 million viewers. It got up to 12.6. And there is a part of me that really wants to keep the momentum going behind women's basketball. And Caitlin Clark is coming back to school next year. Angel Reese is coming back to school next year. Paige Beckers is going to play next year for UConn. So on one side of it, I do feel like, it should just be about Angel Reese and the champions. And then I understand that. And then on the other end, though, Chris, I'm looking at saying, but I also want to celebrate the women's game, and I want to talk about where women's basketball is going, and I want to keep raising the profile around our biggest women basketball athletes so the game can continue to trend in that direction. So I get torn about it.
Yeah, Jay, I'm not torn about this one. I mean, when you win a chip, you go to the White House. Like, I remember when I won Super Bowl 46 and we went to meet President Obama, I damn sure didn't want to stay at that stage with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots after we whooped them in the Super Bowl. That's not how this thing is done. We want to celebrate the champions. The visit to the White House is supposed to be something special for elite level athletes. So I don't know why we want to diminish it in that way by inviting the runner-up. I mean, it feels like a participation trophy that Jill Biden is giving out for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
1,000%.
And that's just not fair, and it really takes away from the spotlight that deserves to be on Angel Reese in LSU. And Angel Reese clearly felt some kind of way about it because she took to social media and on Twitter yesterday talking about how Jill Biden's invitation to the Iowa Hawkeyes, if it was extended, would be an absolute joke. And Stephen A. co-signed it. And they're absolutely right. The problem that I have with this gesture, Max, is because I have serious doubts that if the inverse were true, if Iowa ended up winning the national title and LSU and Angel Reese were on the losing side of it, that Angel Reese and LSU would get the invitation. Now, I know it's a hypothetical. We'll never be able to prove it. But I don't think that would be the case in terms of Jill Biden in the White House inviting
there's a lot
the loser,
here,
the runner-up in LSU had they fallen to the Iowa Hawkeyes.
There's a lot here. Can't prove a counterfactual.
You can't.
But look, and race plays into this too. First, Jay, let me address what you said.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to establish characters. One of the reasons that the women's tournament was much more compelling than the men's tournament this year was there were characters that because there's not a league offering hundreds of millions of dollars siphoning off all the talent, right? In the women's game, there is in the men's game. So you have more established, more interesting characters in the women's game. We cared more about it than the level of play. Offensively, at least, was at an unprecedented level, the all-time highest score in a finals, in a women's finals. And of course, there were storylines and South Carolina was this dominant team, and Dawn Staley and Aaliyah Boston, and here comes Caitlin Clark. Oh, wait a minute, there's LSU in these. So I get it, Jay, I get it. But, Chris, to address your point, the fact is it feels like there was a double standard applied in the area of sportsmanship when Caitlin Clark was, you don't see me. That whole thing, that John Cena thing, when she was doing it, there were literally, it wasn't enough to just accept, it was celebrated. Pieces were run, talking about how good her trash talk is for the game.
Yeah.
And then when it was done to her by Angel Reese, that's the worst thing, right? And so it's hard not to see through a racial lens. Now, when you get to the White House and you do your thought experiment, Chris, and you say, well, it's time for LSU to go. Hey, maybe Iowa should go too. If the reverse were true and the mostly black team had been interesting but lost, would they also get the invite? Then you could say, but it's politically motivated. It's really about Iowa and the caucus. And that brings up a whole separate issue of why are certain places early in the primaries and disproportionately important politically, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy, Max. But here's the other part that's a little deeper than rap. We get to this point where when we start talking about women's athletics, and I'm trying to find a way to frame it, but I gotta say it. The invitation to the loser of the national championship game, given the makeup of the Iowa Hawkeyes team, it feels like there's an era of protecting the white fragility here that is not extended to Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers because it's a predominantly black team. And think about some of the vitriol, some of the venom that we saw Angel Reese get because of what she did in giving Caitlin Clark a dose of her own medicine. Like, this is an aspect of this that we don't really want to talk about because it's the underbelly, it's the ugly side of sports, because it projects our biases. But that's a part of the math in this as well. And I understand why Angel Reese and her teammates would feel slighted at the notion that Jill Biden would even consider inviting the loser after they've earned the right to be the one celebrated at the White House for winning a chip.
First off, Joe Biden she's not the one making the ultimate decision here. And I don't think Joe Biden would do that, nor do I think he should when it's all.
Well, she put her name on it, though, Jay. That's why I got to say her name.
But did you see it? She floated it out as if it was an idea, almost to stress test it against the public, right? It's like, how would you guys feel about
But the consideration of it is offensive, Jay.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I said that right off the top. I understand that. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that at all. I just go back to this place where I feel slightly torn, because I'm with you, Canty, on that side, though, is how do we continue to do the most to build this women's game? Because frankly, until this past year, it's been a fight. Do you know how many times we talked about dealing with misogyny the other day?
Yep.
Like, how many people I can't, the things people will say out loud about you. I can't believe you guys put the women's, Final Four page on ESPN.com. What are you guys doing? You guys are trying to virtue signal, like all these different
things. It's just better this year.
I'm like, they're just better products.
This year, the women's tournament was better than the men's. It just was.
And I want to know more about Caitlin Clark and what she's doing this summer, who she's training with. I want to know more about Angel Reese, and if Kim Oakley and these guys can reload. I want to see what Paige Beckers is doing because she's coming off 2 back-to-back ACL tears. So I want to continue to build. That's my only thing. Just want to continue to build that momentum. I'm not saying that's the best thing for it. I just want to continue to build.
No, I'm with you, Jay. It's repulsive, the notion that we have to somehow make Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes not feel slighted or not feel like they're not celebrated because they don't get invited to the
I just want to say for the record, last thing, Max, I just want to say for the record, that is not Caitlin Clark asking for that.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that.
I know, but people are naturally going to turn their anger towards her.
We have to move on. The first lady saying, "Hey, I'd like to do this," is politically useful because it's not binding, but it messages in a way that may be politically useful to them. The question is, why is that politically useful? That's a whole other conversation. NBA and NBA Players Association agreed to a new CBA. Collective bargaining agreement. What are the takeaways, KJM? Vern in Chicago, you're on with
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
What's up, fellas? Max, you my guy. But right now, I'm trying to figure out what planet you on right now with that comment.
This is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Switch to Geico today and see all the ways you could save.
Wake up with Key, J. Will, and Max.
Nobody does LA mornings like KJM.
Who's the most highlight-driven player in the NBA?
Ja, there have only been a couple of players in history who win the championships as highlight reel type guys. This is MJ Kobe type highlight stuff. MJ and Kobe were the two that played above the rim and won all the time.
LA mornings with LA's own Keyshawn.
Monday morning till 10 a.m.
on 710 ESPN.
Pacific Palms Resort, LA's Hilltop Hideaway and #1 work and play resort, provides opportunities for all travelers and locals. Pamper yourself and relax at the spa. Hit the links at one of their 2 championship courses. Pacific Palms Resort is the perfect venue to host those business meetings, weddings, and big events. Enjoy a beautiful staycation or family holiday at their Hilltop property. Book your stay at LA's #1 work and play resort today at PacificPalmsResort.com.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrows, starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who will make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who will help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who will be the first in their family to graduate college. It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Travis Lee, live from LA Live.
Back Monday morning at 10 a.m. after KJM.
Better accomplishment, taking down a 5-pound burrito or 5 of the hottest wings.
Oh, it's easy.
Hashtag AskTrav.
That's easy. I would need to know the definition, his definition of better. If you're asking me which one I would rather attempt.
Maybe I'll say if you want to brag about someone, say I took down a 5-pound burrito or I took down these 5 hottest wings.
I know it's harder. It's the wings.
The wings are harder.
The wings are harder, but also easier, I think, because as awful of an experience as that chicken sandwich thing we did was, it was over in a day. Right?
Well, I was out for like 3 days.
Well, it was a day, except for a couple of times a day for the next week. That was that was a little different.
Add that together, it's actually a month. Catch Travis Lee every weekday morning at 10 a.m. right here
on 710 ESPN.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Transitioning out of the military, it's difficult. Just about everything around you changes. I would get phone calls that brothers were dying, some of them to suicide. And I'd found myself in another cold cemetery. And I started to wonder if I was next. It's a struggle to know that you're facing challenges, but not be ready to face them. Sleep doesn't come easy. And when it comes, it doesn't last long. You're tired all the time. I didn't reach out for that help, but thank God my wife did. She got me registered for Wounded Warrior Project. Talking to somebody that would listen to me and understood my story helped me realize that it was time to change. There's a new fight. There's a new mission, and that's something I am eternally grateful for.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max in the morning.
LA Sports Talk all day long. 710 ESPN.
Rebound to Hurley for UConn. And how fitting. The coach's son is going to dribble out his dad's championship. 76-59. Every dog has his day, and this day belongs to the Huskies. That's how it sounded on Westwood One NCAA Radio Network as UConn capped one of the most impressive March Madness runs in history to bring home its 5th national title with a 76-59 win over San Diego State, placing them on Jay Will's Mount Rushmore of Blue Bloods. Thomas Sanogo had 17 and 10 boards for the Huskies, who became the 5th team since the bracket expanded in 1985 to win all 6 NCAA tournament games by double digits on the way to a championship. LSU's 102-85 win over Iowa in Sunday's national championship game was the most viewed NCAA women's basketball game on record. 9.9 million viewers on ABC and ESPN2, according to fast national numbers by Nielsen. The total audience is a, 103% jump year over year. Last year, South Carolina beat UConn, averaged 4.85 million on ESPN and ESPN2. The audience on Sunday, at one point, peaked at 12.6 million. Ooh. Los Angeles Angels third baseman Anthony Rendon will serve a 4-game suspension for a public altercation with a fan in Oakland last week. Major League Baseball initially handed him a 5-game suspension, but a subsequent negotiation settlement between MLB and the MLB Players Association reduced the suspension to 4 games, which started Monday night in the Angels' 7-3 win over Seattle. Sports Center is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, ESPN Radio, were presented by Progressive Insurance. Chris Canty in for Key. We're joined now by Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider. Morning, Bobby.
Morning, guys. How are you?
So we're doing well. The NBA seems to be doing pretty well. Seems to me a lot of this is about smuggling in a harder cap to the players. Looks like a big win to me for the owners. But what struck you as the most significant part of the new CBA?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a hard cap. I mean, the Golden States of the world and Clippers and I guess Milwaukee, to an extent, the teams that probably spend, I guess, have somewhat of an unlimited budget, are going to feel, a little bit of a squeeze in the future, as far as the ability to add players to their roster, whether it be through a taxpayer mid-level exception or to be able to acquire a player in a trade. As the days of taking back additional money is probably going to be over. I think it's interesting that these rules, most of these rules are probably not going to be phased in for another few years here. So it's not like they're telling Golden State that you have to kind of pick and choose. And that's not the case. I think that if there was a hard cap in place, then you're basically telling Oklahoma City you have to pick between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey or Orlando with some of those young players in here. So I think it helps, kind of everybody in between. There will be 3 or 4 teams that probably aren't happy with the rules. But as I said, it's there's the cap's going to grow with the media deal. The money's going to grow. Salaries are going to grow. There's more jobs that are going to be in place. The exceptions are going to grow. But I think what the league is saying is that, there are a few teams out there that basically spent at an unlimited number that basically can't help themselves as far as from that perspective. And we're going to put some guardrails in place here that's going to kind of bring them back to the path.
Well, Bobby, Clippers aside, when you look at a team like Golden State that's largely homegrown with their core players, I mean, 3 of their top 4 guys are original draft picks. So in a way, aren't the new rules in the CBA when it comes to team spending penalizing teams that evaluate and draft players very well?
Yeah, I mean, they did go out and get Andrew Wiggins, and, they went out and signed Dante DiVincenzo this offseason, which cost them an additional $30 million towards their tax. That won't happen, in the future. You're right, though. I mean, I would have loved to see him find some type of middle ground, Chris, where, there are restrictions as far as, there's this what we call a second apron team, which they would be based on how much they've spent. That still exists, but I would have loved if they get a little more of a tax break where, if Steph Curry's making $46 million, maybe 30 of that counts towards the luxury tax because that is one of your homegrown products. But yeah, they do get penalized, with, Curry, Thompson, Green, guys that they've drafted, Kevon Looney. I think it's going to be interesting how this plays out in the next 4 years. If it's going to be Oklahoma City, who's drafted extremely well, are they the next team that gets penalized here? But I think big picture, that's what I would have loved to see, some kind of common ground. I think you could still put the rules in place where there are restrictions as far as what you can add, but also reward teams as far as, how they draft.
Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, joining us here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Bobby, I wanted to get into the age restriction thing here. When do you think, because it obviously didn't get agreed upon in this CBA, when do you think the NBA will allow players to come in directly from high school?
Well, this agreement's going to go out for 6 years, 7 years here. So I don't see it. I don't think that there's a desire from either side. I know the commissioner had come out, I guess a year ago and said there was. I think the more you talk to teams, there's no desire to go into high school gyms and recruit kids. I